Hi, my name is Akiva Goldman. I'm an attorney with Goldman and Associates. I'm the firm's director here at Goldman and Associates. I want to talk a little bit to you about motion practice and how your case is going to work. Okay? By now, you have been made acquainted with an attorney who's representing you at ground level, a member of our firm, who's helping you. And he or she's going to get stuff together, is going to meet with you by Zoom, hopefully, or over the phone, or maybe even in person, get information from you. We'll try and do it in the most efficient way possible. And at times, motions will be filed on your behalf in order to accomplish something, in order to get more parenting time, in order to stop excessive spending, in order to do whatever is necessary in your case. You have to understand one thing, though. The court is only going to hear on a motion call the things that are filed in that motion, and it's at their discretion. You can raise 3 issues in the motion. I want to talk about custody, I want to talk child support, I want to talk parenting time. The court can decide, you know what, I'll discuss temporary custody. The other issues I'm referring to the front of the court, we're not taking that now. The court can do that. The court can decide an issue that you're raising, since you brought up the issue of parenting time, it would be child support, but you may want to raise it, but it's not in the court's agenda to handle that now, so you're going to have to file that next week. The court can do that. The court can hear all your issues or none of your issues. The court can invite everybody into the courtroom. The court can have everybody in Zoom and table the matter pending a CPS report or some such thing. Here's my point. You're not going to be able to try your case at every single opportunity. The trial of your case will take place at the end of the case on the trial date, if need be. Most cases aren't tried. But you have to understand something. It's not up to your lawyer to advocate every single part of your case every single time he or she comes before the court. That's not how our system works. And if you want your lawyer to do that, all that's going to happen is the court is going to say, excuse me, sir, that is not before me and I'm not handling it now. And if you were to press the matter, the court would ultimately say to you, look, you're not gaining any points here. You want that noticed up? We do that. We do that on alternating Tuesday, so you can notice it up then. The court has all sorts of discretion. So here's my point. Let the system work for you. Bringing frustration and impatience into the process will not help you. I have seen, clients give feedback to lawyers from all different law firms. And the directors of law firms in a mastermind format talk about this all the time. And I hear this and I can't believe it. But you got to understand that what one client talks about to one firm is probably something that other clients are thinking of too. And that is, well, why is this taking so long? How come if we file a motion and the motion, is a 1-page motion that takes 5 minutes to read, why does that court proceeding take 2 hours and require testimony? You know what? It's not something that we do, that we require, that we set up on purpose to make you miserable. It's something that the court does if the court feels it requires testimony in order to resolve an issue. So you may have a small item that you thought, oh, well, great, this will take me an hour. It'll cost me around $400 probably to get that done. And then you realize that, wait a minute, this is actually costing me $1,200. Why? Because the other side filed a counter motion. And now my lawyer has to file an answer to that motion. And then the hearing on these things is not a hearing on one thing, now it's a hearing on 3 things. And how's that fair to me? Or the other lawyer makes a mistake and, shows up at the wrong time or shows up late. So the court says, okay, we need to have input from both. This other lawyer's double scheduled. We're going to come back next week. Why is that your fault? Why did you have to pay again for your lawyer to be there? You know what? It's not your fault. It's not your lawyer's fault either. It's not the court's fault. It's something that sometimes is an inevitable consequence of litigation. Sometimes that happens. And when it does, the law of averages says it's going to happen to you about the same amount of times as it happened to the other side. That's just the way it is. And this system, once you take all of your family law issues and you put it into the court system, you're going to have to expect that some of these things may occur. Now, a lot of law firms won't tell you what I'm telling you right now. They're not going to tell you that because they only want you to hear the good parts of it. They don't want you to hear that there are thorns to the rose we call the court system, but there are. And here at Goldman and Associates, we offer transparency in giving out information to our viewing audience. You have to be made aware that sometimes you'll get a fast result and sometimes you won't. Motion practice is designed to bring something before the court and get a quick answer, but it doesn't always work out that way. And if it doesn't always work out that way, it's not necessarily your fault. It's not necessarily your lawyer's fault. It could be the judge's fault. It could be that some judges like to make decisions and some of them don't. And your lawyers, you know what? They probably know who the decision makers are and who they aren't because it's a pet peeve. And some judges just won't make the call. It is what it is. We still have to work with them. We don't have a right to kick them off and get another judge. It doesn't work that way. So you have to understand and work with the system. As I often say, impatience and frustration doesn't help when you bring that to the table. Your lawyers are going to do as good a job as they can to get your matter before the court sooner rather than later. If you file a motion and the lawyer says, I'm going to file this motion, here it is, and you go back to your lawyer and say, well, you know what? I want to add this and add that. That's going to delay your process. That is definitely going to delay it because now your lawyer is going to revise it and send it back to you for approval. And then you're going to send it back again. How much of a rush are you in? If you're in a rush, don't make amendments or corrections or deletions that are not absolutely necessary. If you have the time and you want to add more stuff to the court's docket, you can certainly do it. But understand that everything you do has an impact and could very well change the timetable of your case. How long it takes to process, how long that hearing is going to take, how long it's going to take you to get your relief. You have to bear these things in mind. It's no different than anything else. If you were at a restaurant and you order a main course, and while it's being cooked up, you said, you know what, I want it vegan instead of meat-based, or I prefer this side instead of that side. It's going to slow things up and change it, and may even change the cost too. Every time you add something like that, you can expect an impact. And so goes the whole case. Every time you decide, you know what? I want the car. I changed my mind. Let him have this. I'll take the car. Okay, but you're now, if you're changing the deal, now your lawyer's going back to the other side and said, we have a change. We now want this instead of that. Now there's something else on the table. In other words, you have to realize this is like so many things in life. When you have a case before the court, when you have a motion, that's how these things go. And you may have many, many motions throughout the life cycle of your case. So my ultimate advice is be patient. Try to be clear with your lawyer what your goals and objectives are. Your lawyer will explain to you why things have to be done one way or another way. And just realize that it's a good process. It may be a slow process, but it's a good process and it will work. You just have to have the patience to allow it. If you have any questions about that, reach out and we'll be glad to help you out.